Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and a very happy Shaq Islip, who keeps saying West Ham champions of Europe. I'm not quite sure if that equates. Lots going on today. Only one place that we can start, though. Donny van der Beek wants out at Manchester United. The old ones, the classic. Lionel Messi is heading to MLS. He's going to sign with Inter Miami. I've made the decision that I'm going to Miami. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we, Frank Leboeuf. But let's start with Sebastian Salazar. Seb, how excited are you as a man who's followed MLS for a long time that this is happening?
Yeah. I got a haircut, can't you see, just from Messi's arrival. This is massive. It's impossible to really overstate just how big this is going to be for the league. You can add up all the guys, David Beckham, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who have, come to Major League Soccer and somewhat cut through. And I don't think they hold a candle to what Lionel Messi is right now, coming off a World Cup final, which he not only won, but he won in front of billions of people. So this is going to be massive for the league on an international scale. It's going to be huge for the league on a domestic scale, and it gives Inter Miami the opportunity to become the franchise in Major League Soccer. Now, based on their track record, it's not an opportunity you can bet that they'll grab, but I think it sets Inter Miami nicely up now. You've got Lionel Messi, you've got talk of a downtown stadium soon, and, of course, you've got one of the locales that is absolutely impossible to beat when you talk about recruiting big stars.
Seb, going through the deal, obviously there's quite a few added extras, one being that he looks like he's going to get part of the Apple subscriptions that are going to be as a consequence of him signing for Inter, deal with Adidas as well, and part ownership of Inter Miami.
Yeah, they're making this deal as sweet as possible. Obviously, when you look at MLS salaries, up until a few years ago, the max a guy would get was like $5 million a year. We've seen Lorenzo Insigne bump that up to 14, 15. You could see Messi getting 20 or 25 on the books at Inter Miami, but they're going to obviously have to make up hundreds of millions of dollars there. This is unprecedented. We've never seen guys get a percentage of a TV deal. We've never seen guys get a percentage of a merch deal. And I think we have seen, in the case of David Beckham, somebody get a chance to buy a percentage of a club in the future. And we know that that can be worth hundreds of millions. Still, it's worth pointing out, this is a total package, even with all of the extras, worth hundreds of millions, not billions, which is, what it was going to add up to if he went to Saudi Arabia. So Messi turning down probably hundreds of millions of dollars to come to Major League Soccer and Inter Miami.
Yeah, the number, of course, associated with the Saudi Arabia move is $1 billion net over those 2 years. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, and I don't think it was as much about coming to Major League Soccer as it was the cultural differences of living in the United States in Miami and living in Saudi Arabia. And that is a package, living here and playing the sport that you love and you've been arguably the best at. Look, if there's a trickle effect over the years and he moves the needle, which he will do, and boy, they need that needle to move, there is no doubt about that. It's going to be super exciting for Inter Miami fans, but I think around the country, when Inter Miami travel, the fans of the towns and cities that Messi's going to play at, they're going to see him firsthand. So that is super exciting to see a guy who hopefully still fit and sharp and can still do it. But there needs to be some long-term vision here in terms of, I go back to that word trickle effect, of other players eventually coming, because he's 35 and it might be a year or two and then that sort of movie moves on. So, I think they'll be hoping, Major League Soccer that is, and the TV networks, that, there's others will follow. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're talking about the others are all heading to where Messi, we thought he might have headed, is Saudi Arabia, who seem to be throwing billions at every sport going at the moment, and that's a deeper, bigger story. But, in terms of bringing a player in who just makes people stand up and take notice, and even the very average and casual soccer fan here in the United States probably knows who Lionel Messi is. And so that is absolutely huge. And, of course, I think from a family perspective,
yeah, I think
the main thing for him, listening to that interview, it's family first. Yeah, he's not going to be in $100 a week. He's going to be getting paid huge sums. So when you evaluate what the difference is quality of life. And then obviously there needs to be a return on the pitch as well. So super exciting all round.
It's not going to be anonymous. You know, you talk about coming here and like disappearing.
Yeah, I think, well, he did mention that, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not under the spotlight because obviously Miami and the Latin American community.
Yeah, he's not.
But that's the thing. I'm not sure that there's a place in the world that Lionel Messi can go to and not just be hounded, for want of a better expression.
But there's a level of hounded.
Connecticut.
Exactly.
Connecticut.
Well, yeah, you might get away with it up here.
Stevie's house.
but so to that point, and while I understand the sentiment that he's trying to find somewhere for his family to be happy, that he can reconnect and go to games with his kids, stuff like that. Again, wherever he goes, he will be recognized. Whatever he does, there will be crowds following him, and that almost goes without saying. There's so much about this that excites even the casual soccer fan here in the US. I don't think the league has seen somebody who captures the public attention in this way since David Beckham. And Seb spoke about all the players that came, and we can argue about who was better or who wasn't. Nobody just captured the attention purely the way that David Beckham did. Now, all of a sudden, in Lionel Messi, you have someone who exceeds Beckham in that regard, in capturing the attention, but then exceeds everybody in terms of talent. So it's a lot almost for the league to process all at once, and then going to a team that are desperately struggling right now. I mean, it couldn't be a greater contrast between who Inter Miami are as a club, performance-wise, and what Lionel Messi represents as a player. So it'll be interesting to see how this all just kind of comes together and takes shape.
David Beckham was a big circus, and it was huge when he came to Major League Soccer. But it was all about the show around David Beckham. People, I would imagine, and I played against David Beckham, he's a fine player, but I would imagine people around the country were not queuing up to come and see him play soccer. It was more about the fanfare around him, whereas the difference here is people are going to get a first-hand view, those that get to the stadium in particular, to see this little magician working. Now, it's not the guy that was in the Barcelona 2011 team with Pep Guardiola that was absolutely, you could argue it was one of the greatest club sides ever. But he's still a guy that's just won the World Cup. And he is still more than capable of producing some magical moments.
To tell you how big a stallion Messi is and tell you the impact he's already having, Craig's gone full Don Johnson.
I know. I know.
I mean,
he's getting that Miami vibe early.
He has.
I'm heading down
Full
there
Don
tonight.
Johnson.
I know.
That tells you all you need to know.
I've got my detective card here.
The shirt's not fit anymore.
No.
Frank, this just seems to make sense for everybody.
Yeah, and it does to me too. The only thing is I'm sad today. I mean, we are turning a big page of the history of football with the big story between Ronaldo and Messi. That's the end of it. We saw Ronaldo leaving, and now it's Messi, so we're going to go for another chapter of maybe fantastic players, but those two drove us to the top of the top for more than a decade, even almost 2 decades. So it's a big turning page. And I'm sad, but happy that he made that decision, as Craig and Shaka explained that it was better for his family. It was not maybe the best in terms of financial deal. But at the end of the day, you know, I don't really know what the Saudi Arabian championship level is, but I know that if you want to go for a better life, and if you want to have a good championship, yeah, you have to go to the MLS. That's a very good deal. That's very pleasant. You're gonna love your life, and you're gonna love the football, because the football is a good level. Yes, it's not Europe anymore. It's not South America, but it's a very good level. And Messi has still something to say. And it's a very important sentence from Craig about the fact that they are getting, the MLS is getting somebody who just won the World Cup. It's not somebody who's done. It's somebody who just got World Cup champion, and it's a big deal for this country who wants to develop soccer at the best. And yeah, I'm happy for the MLS. If Messi's happy, I'm happy, but I'm sad for football.
Seems Paris wasn't big enough for the both of them, was it? LeBouf and Messi.
LeBouf and Messi.
There's only one winner there.
At least I know we'll get to Barcelona. I know we'll get to that, but at least we can stop. Andy's father can stop piping on about this Barcelona thing. At least that's done.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Well, I figured we're going to talk about that. That's why I prefaced that by saying we'll talk about it in a moment.
Miami are obviously going to try and monetize this as much as possible, Seb. You mentioned the downtown stadium, but that's a long way away. The stadium at the moment has got 18,000 capacity. Will they move to like the Hard Rock Stadium or a bigger venue? Because surely you could sell that out however many times over.
Yeah, exactly. You're bringing Messi in. I don't think 18,000 is going to be enough. The NFL stadium there, as you mentioned, the Dolphins' home holds about 50, 60. You could sell that out quite easily. The demand is off the roof. You can't get 2023 season tickets anymore. You can put a $2,000 deposit in on 2024 season tickets for a chance, and that deposit is non-refundable. And I got a buddy who just did it, so people are going crazy.
Wow.
The tickets are out of control. From this morning, I got rich friends, and they don't work in this business. From this morning, you got tickets that were $50, $60. They're now $600, $700. That's just from this becoming official. So there's tons of demand, and I think if you're Inter Miami, you don't want to be putting Lionel Messi in a Lego stadium in Fort Lauderdale. You need him to be in Miami and on a proper stage for this player, because there's going to be no shortage of demand. We've seen that in the last 12 to 24 hours already.
Well, that's ripping people off, though, isn't it? That's another story.
It's business, Craig.
Well, I'm sorry, but no. That's, you know, there's signing Lionel Messi, and then there's pumping ticket prices up like that. That's just ripping.
Craig, sorry, I should point out this is on the secondary market where these tickets are exploding. I don't want Inter Miami to catch any unnecessary strays.
No, well,
yeah.
All right. Well, I don't.
Somebody's taking advantage.
I don't care.
Looking for Craig on his soapbox.
I don't care.
Defending the people. What about the working man?
I hardly think I'll be into Miami watching Messi anyway, so I really don't care.
Frank, before we move on to the Barcelona side of this conversation, are you surprised how down Messi was about living in Paris? Clearly, he was miserable. He said it for 2 years.
Yes, I am, because I know the city, and it's not hard to enjoy the city if you want to. I think his relationship with the fans didn't work well, and maybe it's not even because of him. You know, many fans regretted to see him crying because of leaving Barcelona, it's understandable. But coming the day after and saying hi to Paris Saint-Germain fans. So he said, well, the guy doesn't want to come first. And then he had I would say, average season the first year. He had a very good beginning of season, very, very good, won the World Cup and kind of disappeared. So fans were expecting more, not only from him. I think they were disappointed, and because he's the top of the top, he was the first to be maybe hammered by the fans. For him, you know, the kids going to school, having some spare time with the father was possible. I don't really get it. I know that Lionel Messi is somebody really is used to hide in his house and don't really move, or if he was at the hotel because he couldn't find a house, maybe that's why he was maybe unhappy. But I don't really understand. I mean, it's a beautiful city. You have everything to enjoy with the kids, with your wife, because of the culture, because of the entertainment you can find. It's not really much a problem to enjoy. I don't know. He has maybe a special life.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.